The Warped Podcast is a talk show focused on the colourful conspiracy characters from the deepest rabbit holes of the internet brought to the surface for your entertainment. Join Daniel and Stina as they discuss what's been making waves on the web. Sit back, relax, and remember to keep your wits about you. It's a jungle out there.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Warp Podcast. I'm joined again by my wonderful co-host Stina. How you doing, Stina?
I'm doing good, Daniel. How you doing?
Yeah, look, not too bad. As I sort of said before on Twitter and as we've been talking about, I took a little tumble down the stairs earlier, so, a little bit bruised, and probably my ego is bruised a whole lot more than my body, but, yeah. Yeah, it definitely should be. But anyway, life goes on. How are you doing?
I've had an eventful couple of weeks. Very eventful couple of weeks, and I'm not just talking about Thanksgiving craziness. So,
Yeah.
I've been getting some emails from YouTube telling me that I've been getting strikes on my videos. And I've never received a strike before until just recently when I did a particular video about David Wilcock and his foundation that he formed last year. And all of a sudden I'm getting strikes. I was surprised because I thought Corey Good would be the first person to strike my content. But I've not received any negativity for the most part. No strikes, and he got me 3 times for privacy violations on that one video.
Look, I mean, it's a bit out of left field. I think I agree. Like, Corey's been much the sort of more person that's been aggressive with these sort of stances, and publicly and privately with his actions as well. But obviously, you've got the attention of David, and I just want to say as well, we're not going to delve into too great a detail with this because it is actually a legal situation. And I think that's something that, people don't give a lot of credence to when you're a third party listening, following what someone is going along with. But, it's not something to be paraded around as a great achievement to actually have a cease and desist letter, because at the end of the day, Stina, we're actually people. We have families. We have, a lot going on for us. And I don't think that at the same time should mean that we're, trying to play the victim either, because I think there's pretty good evidence on the other side that the people who are being aggressive with their legal stance have actually, quite publicly played victim with a lot of their stuff too.
And that's exactly what this is. That's what I had received, the privacy strikes from YouTube. And the first one that I got, I corrected it. I was like, okay, I'll give you this one. And 24 hours later, I got another one. And I said, fuck you. Actually, you helped me with the first one. You did it for me. You removed the content that he was striking. And then I got a third strike, I think 12 hours later. It was like back to back, and I was just like, "Now, fuck this shit." There's nothing that I'm saying that isn't information that I do not have any resources that are different from any other motherfucker on the planet. I have if anything, I had less resources because I was doing this all strictly from my iPhone. I did not have a functioning laptop. That thing was seriously 10 years old. It couldn't even update its iOS. I was limited on what I could access because a lot of public record websites are not compatible with a mobile device. You can't.
For sure.
Yeah. So if anything, I had less to work with, and I was still able to find this information and put it out. So there's no reason for him to strike me. And I think it was 2 days after I released my last video, I then received a cease and desist in my email from his attorney. It did not just go to me, it went to my husband as well. And as much as I may mention the fact that I'm married, my husband has nothing to do with any of this. He works his ass off every single day to put a roof over my head and our children's head. He has absolutely nothing to do with this. He doesn't have a Facebook. He doesn't use social media, the few platforms he does have. There is no reason to include him in this except for to try to tattletale on me, thinking my husband would put his foot down and tell me, enough is enough, you're done, But since, I don't really disclose a lot about my husband and he's not on the internet, they don't know him. And he was just like, yeah, fuck that shit. I don't, when I got it, it was literally Black Friday. I was sitting there kind of like, just chilling. He got off work and he was taking a nap and I got the email and I was like, Pat, holy shit, look at this. And he was so not bothered by that shit that he didn't even wake up. He kept sleeping for another hour and a half. That's how not bothered. So if they thought they were going to tattletale on me to my husband, it didn't work. Some of us are in normal relationships where we're not whipped by our spouse and they let us, be normal people. And I skimmed through it. I still, what is it, 10 days later or something? I don't know. I still haven't fully read it. I just kind of skimmed through it. And I was going to wait until I filmed my response video to actually fully read it and give a thorough response. Because there was some stuff in there that was just utter bullshit. One thing I mentioned on Twitter is that he claimed that Jay Widener, CW Chanter, and I think Gaia employees or something were my co-conspirators. I have never had a conversation with CW Chanter, ever.
Yep.
If you look at my Twitter and see him tweeting me and me tweeting him, that's the extent of a quote relationship I have with him. We've never talked on the phone. Yep. You know what I mean? And Jay, I went on Reality Check one time, and it wasn't even Jay that reached out to me and invited me on there. It was actually Groovy Bean. So I don't know where he's getting this fucking information from. It's just a bunch of bullshit. I will say that I have received some legal advice, and I'll go over that more. But in your opinion, Daniel, I have had Twitter for, I don't know, since September. I've been making videos for 2 months now? I have 9 videos, including my welcome video. And I've only made, I guess you could say, 2 videos on David Wilcock specifically, because the one about the foundation was a 2-parter. And then the next video I put out was about the Cosmic Secret as a whole. It included Corey Good in there. And so I've really only made 2 videos about David Wilcock. I have 400 subscribers. Why would he come after me?
Yeah, look exactly. And I think, that's something that you're going to cover in greater detail as well, on your channel. And everyone definitely listening to this podcast should, if you're not already, please subscribe to Stina, because, obviously there's going to be a whole other side to this story. And I don't think we need to go into the gritty detail here, because I guess what I'm more interested in is the bigger picture, right? So what that exactly tells to me, Stina, is, you're talking about, you've only made a couple of videos on him. You're just a person. You're just a, everyday person like myself and many others online who are, not backed by any sort of organization or, unlike the Edge of Wonder guys or anything like that. We're just people who are having a reaction to what we're seeing. Yes. And that is completely fine. And it certainly myself, if anyone doesn't know, I come from a journalism background, so I've worked in the media for about 20 years and definitely know a lot about, our certain sort of rights and protections for covering this sort of thing. And, one of the biggest rules in journalism is you speak truth to power, and these guys have a hell of a lot of power over a hell of a lot of people, and it does result into financial gain for themselves. So they are open to ridicule, they're open to criticism and everything else that comes with that, and nobody's above that, as a public figure and the things that they're putting out to thousands of people. So I guess the biggest problem that I have with David's actions, and we've seen that with Corey through his cease and desist letters to others in the community, like, C.W. Channer or Jimmy Church or Emery Smith, or whatever issues that he's had with him, now that he's turned to be presenting on Gaia, and many more, is, the actual threat and intimidation that presents to someone else, right? So you're a person that is producing videos with your own personal opinion, not backed by any sort of organization or anything like that,
right,
about your personal opinion on a public figure, and all of a sudden you are getting clamped down with sort of legal, sort of threats almost. It is a play of threat and intimidation, and I guess, definitely, actually, what we're going to do now is we're going to play how someone like David Wilcock responds to threat and intimidation.
Go ahead, David, and tell your story, and let's deal with this.
All right.
It's okay. Let's just take it one step at a time. And I just want to say that you are beloved by many, many people out there, and I have contacted a very important person who can definitely come to your aid in every way. So do not worry. Whatever can be done will be done on your behalf. And I have to say, I've seen the future, and you're going to be fine.
Well, I appreciate that. So I've been covering this Fulford story, and I released information about something that is much more secret than UFOs. And I was called today after I put this online, and this particular individual was called by two different people. And one of them said, "Do you like David Wilcock?" That was how he started the conversation. And, he said that both of these people basically said the same thing, which is that I need to get part 2 of the article out tonight. They wouldn't go into detail, but I was told that that if I was tortured, that would be lucky, and that probably I wouldn't make it, but that if I get through the next 3 days, that I'll probably be okay, but that I would be much safer if I could get this information out tonight, because I was led to believe that if someone is going to come and talk to me and give me the gun or the money game where they try to buy me out or threaten me with death and maybe narco-hypnosis or something like that, mind control kind of things, I don't know. But that basically all I have before that team could show up here is tonight. So I felt like I'm sorry for crying.
No, David, you know, we're with you, and really, it's okay. You know, you are surrounded by incredible light.
How the hell have I been doing this for 25 years and I'm still alive if they're so good at this? If they're so good at threatening people, stopping you from talking, playing the gun of the money where they got a fistful of $100 bills in one hand and a gun in the other, and they say, I'm not leaving unless I give you one of these two things. That's never happened to me, you know? And I'm a very prominent person exposing this stuff with millions of followers like you guys. So you don't need to worry about them. They don't have anywhere near enough staff to go after people.
Know. Okay? And you are so loved. I just can't, anyone who's a broadcaster in radio, please ask them to take this feed. David, you are totally going to be okay. What matters here is that you keep it together and that you are able to tell us the story, because this is going to protect you. The truth.
Okay.
Putting it out there, this is what's going to protect you. Okay? Once it's out there, they can't touch you. It's in the public domain. So let's get it out there.
All right. I'll pull it together. Fulford has never... Okay. I guess... Okay, the context. This is what I now know. I have been in I've been in touch with Benjamin Fulford. He came out on the scene in 2007, as we all know. And what he ultimately has been saying is that there's an alliance of 117 nations, and those nations are aligned against the Illuminati, which, if you don't know, is the secret political leadership of the G5 countries, and not a whole lot else anymore. They were running a lot of other countries by proxy. They were having puppet dictators running a lot of these countries in the Middle East and in Africa. And those countries are now claiming back their sovereignty. And the tip of the spear of what they have been planning to blow this whole thing open is a lawsuit. Fulford has been talking about this lawsuit on his website for at least a year and a half. The website was published. It was filed. Fulford said it would be filed on November 15th. It was filed on November 23rd. It's 111 pages long. It's incredibly intricate. I downloaded it when it first showed up. I thought it was bullshit when it first showed up because they quoted from Wikipedia regarding the Davos World Economic Forum. I wrote a long missive on Benjamin Fulford's website saying that I thought this thing was bullshit. After that, the people who were responsible for filing the lawsuit contacted me personally. We began a relationship which has led to an extensive amount of contact. They have sent me over 500 photographs. They have sent me dozens of documents. These documents apparently have put a bounty on my head. I now have seen the Book of Maklumat, the Book of Codes. I have seen the exact documentation that will bring these people down. It's in my possession. I am soon going to be getting it, very soon going to be getting it to other people who already have the Wilcock file. You people know who you are. Please do not inspect the file. Only go with Category 1 distribution if something happens to me. If you look in the revealing folder, I have a list of criteria. Do not release Category 2 unless the criteria of the revealing folder are met. At least 3 of the points in that folder must be met before you release Category 2. But Category 1 would only occur if I am killed. Okay? If you don't hear from me in 3 or 4 days, then go ahead and put it out there. In addition to that, if I put out a code phrase, as you guys know, because it's in the revealing folder, and that code phrase says that if you see that in my next update, then you have to go with distribution plan 1. And that's all in the folder. Okay, so this is what we need to do. This is the plan that I put in place. I never expected I would need to use this. Carrie, you know I told you I recorded everything. It's a betrayal, but I recorded everything that happened when I was on the phone with Henry Deacon. I told him this when he was out here. That's part of what's in that file. There's a lot of other very juicy things in that file. Don't make me do this, please. Okay? Okay. I gotta calm down.
So, Stina, listening to that and seeing how David reacts to a stressful situation, which definitely don't want to underplay, like a death threat is a serious thing, and I've actually had that since I started covering this topic as well. But seeing how he responds to a threat and intimidation of sorts, do you find it interesting how different he is in terms of how he hands it out to others, especially someone like you who, as you say, you've recorded just a few YouTube videos, you've just got a couple of hundred subscribers, whatever it might be, on YouTube, and for him to go after you, isn't that an act of aggression?
I don't understand why he thinks that a man that is a public figure, that is putting out information that he knows is private, confidential, secretive, including very big players within the government and these secret societies and things like that. He's crying about getting a death threat in his life and being tortured and all this shit. But I, a regular person, just providing some criticism and critique with public information that is already out there on the internet, it's okay to silence me, but not him. I didn't think anything that I was doing or that you were doing was worthy of a fucking death threat. You know what I mean? Or some kind of threats of legal action. It seems kind of overkill, considering any motherfucker on the planet right now can Google David Wilcock and find the same exact information that I've provided, that you've provided. It's not like we're hacking their computer and pulling up secret information. I'm not providing a bunch of juicy gossip that I heard about him being a fucking cheater and shit like that. It's not like I'm doing that kind of shit. I'm not slandering him with any gossip that I've heard. Neither are you. But he's
Correct.
doing some shit, and he's actually doing that. He's actually putting out this private, secret information and getting threats, and he wants you to pity him and feel sorry for him. But when somebody just does something like a fraction of what he's done, you know, he thinks it's okay to suppress them and silence them because he's the subject matter. And I don't know if you're able to pull this up, Daniel, but he's done actually worse, in my opinion. He, on an Edge of Wonder stream, they read an email from David where he goes on and on and on talking shit about Tom DeLonge. And he even says stuff that isn't publicly available, such as domestic disturbance, something like 20 domestic disturbances called to Tom DeLonge's home within the last year. This is not public information. This isn't something, Ben Chasteen actually says that he tried to look into this and could not find anything to verify what David said about these domestic disturbances at Tom DeLonge's house. He couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything. So that is private information if it is true.
Okay, so he says, we must be ready for a blitzkrieg of fear from the deep stank that actually works. The combination of FISA, the Hancock video buildup, and the DeLonge tweet. Wow. DeLonge. Okay, now he's saying, on Tom DeLonge. Yes. Oh, you want to read this?
Yeah, because I kind of did a little research, so I'll go into this one. So this is David Wilcock saying this again, not us, but David Wilcock.
Somebody give us $200 too.
Yeah, man.
God.
Yeah, it's
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Yes, all of a sudden he, meaning Tom DeLonge, is a prophet and a hero. No one is talking about the 18 domestic dispute incidents the police got called in on him for just last year alone. The DS, Deep Stank, has covered it up. Now, reason why I kind of want to say this, because I briefly did some quick background check. I didn't spend very long on it, but I honestly couldn't find anything related to domestic disputes. Doesn't mean that it's not there. And so his point was that the deep state had been covering up. If there is, there definitely would be police reports, but again, none of the media are going to be talking about that. So I didn't look into the police reports. I just tried to find some articles or anything about his wife. His wife hasn't used Twitter since 2015, actually. Jennifer DeLong, or Jennifer, I forget her real last name or her maiden name, but anyway. So you guys might know a little bit more about that. Maybe you can look into it and see if you see anything. Like I said, I didn't spend very long on it. I just was trying.
You didn't spend very long on it.
You know what I'm saying? So he can slander Tom DeLonge. He can provide a bunch of private information on him to hundreds of thousands of subscribers on the Edge of Wonder channel. And that's okay. But you and I cannot provide public information that's already on the internet in a video format, or else we're going to get threats of legal action.
Well, Stina, color me shocked, but the guy who has no physical, factual evidence to anything that he's ever said about, the ascension was going to happen in the year 2000, or that it was going to happen in the year 2012, and that now through their latest, documentary episode extravaganza that they've been promoting, The Cosmic Secret, it's going to happen very shortly. And the biggest thing that I'm definitely worried about, and I've stated that publicly with The Cosmic Secret, is if you watch the last 20 minutes or so of that documentary, or that movie, whatever you want to call it, it is very much pointing towards an apocalyptic event, which they are very assuredly, across all the people that talk on that episode, talking about comfort and that it's all going to be okay and it's all going to be all right. And look, this is speculation on my behalf. I'm quite happy to wear that. I'm quite happy to wear any comments that I made through this video because they're not slanderous, they're not libelous or anything like that. But for me, that sounds a whole lot like a UFO cult phenomena that we saw tragically with something like Heaven's Gate.
I would agree with you, because right after I got the legal notice, after I put out my video on The Cosmic Secret, I was actually accused of religious persecution in the letter. So he sees what I am doing as religious persecution. So there is, as much as they want to say this isn't a cult, well, it's not a religion. It's not a mainstream religion. And a lot of religions started out as cults. So it's not what is the name of this religion? I want to know what fucking religion I am persecuting. What religion is it? What's the name of it? What is the basis of this religion?
It's a really good question, actually, because I don't think anyone's really covered that. I actually think that's a really intriguing topic, Stina, because when you pull it all apart, and any sort of religious scholar who is, and I don't pretend to be, by the way, but anyone who's interested in this, if they pulled it apart, the belief system, all it tends to be is, and someone like David Icke specializes in this terminology, which is connecting dots between things, right? So it ends up being, parts of Christianity, which they do definitely delve into in The Cosmic Secret, and parts of ancient other religions across the globe, but they tie it all together in a way that's not really true. Like if you look at the ancient texts of a lot of those religions, they're quite conflicting, but when you see someone package it and present it in the way that they're doing, they're rebranding it all and they're converting it into something of their own, which is a psychological trick to try and make, the person believe that actually, this is all in sync and actually this is all happening, when in fact it is a very clever technique, and all those people that were in that documentary. And gee, I can't wait to sort of delve into that with my series that I've been doing on YouTube, Stina. And you know what my next episode's going to be? I can't reveal it just yet. But it is so tied together. And what it actually depends on, all those people, what does it actually depend on? Them all working together. I tell you, that's exactly what it depends on.
Exactly. They're it's the echo chamber thing.
Well, they've created a narrative where they all fit in.
Yeah, because they're a bunch of fucking losers in the real world. That's all this is a bunch of people that are fucking losers and socially awkward and have no fucking personality or identity. That's all it is. Like, let these people go out into the real world and try to survive. Like, notice none of them have normal fucking jobs. None of them have normal jobs because I bet you most of them don't do well in a group setting. Like, they can't work normal jobs because they're fucking weird and socially awkward and probably can't handle having an irate customer in front of them or anything like that because they'll cry or proclaim, persecution or something like that. Like, they're a bunch of fucking crybabies. They're a bunch of snowflakes. They're a bunch of spoiled brats. Like, honestly, this is the only place where they will be accepted because, like I said, they're fucking losers.
Well, it's interesting, Stena, because the internet has actually brought that to a point where it can happen. If you think of all these phenomena and as they have happened in the past, like let's say, cultism and the various, horrible examples that we had through history. And the closest one that we can actually relate is the Heaven's Gate cult and, how actually people literally took the Kool-Aid and passed away thinking that their souls were going to be transported by aliens. Take that sort of scenario, take that example, marry it to the whole New Age phenomena, marry that to the internet rising and these people having access to produce content and reach thousands of people. I think, Gaia too was actually such a big vehicle. As much as things like Ancient Aliens on the History Channel was as well, but it really amplified this thing into a whole other stratosphere. And now what we're seeing is these people reaching, thousands of people on social media, but with the validity that they did it on Gaia, that they, spoke on the Ancient Aliens show and all that kind of thing. And it dovetails into quite serious people like, I'm thinking of the likes that, Graham Hancock actually did a forward of one of David Wilcock's books. And you think of stuff like that and, you're blending sort of someone who is quite credible in the community like Graham Hancock into David Wilcock. I got confused between the cocks, I'm sorry. Honest mistake, Stina, honest mistake. But, that's the kind of environment that we've been left with is we've got this group of people, they're all clearly working together with each other. And look, the fascinating part for me is probably irrelevant, which is how do they actually talk to each other offline when they're off, off topic and all that kind of thing. But I actually think the more and more I've thought about that is I actually don't think they ever let the guard drop even with each other.
Well, I can actually verify that from somebody that has been around these people on a regular basis. And they had explained to me, yes, it is very much that. The guards never really dropped, but they also said that it's not just talks about, the avians or the Anshars and stuff like that. It's more so talks about themselves. They're just so busy talking about themselves all the time that the Anshars and the avians and other stuff like that is just kind of like a casualty of the egotistical spewings of how wonderful they are.
For sure. Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think we see that quite clearly. Stina, what I'm thinking about is when you received your cease and desist letter, how do we actually handle this? And I don't think the way is kind of combating it on a one-by-one basis for the community in large. I think the way that we need to handle this, and for anyone listening out there to this now, I think it's going to become really important that we do come together. And I don't mean to say that in a way of unity in the community, like, the other side have definitely sort of tried to play that card. I think it's kind of a responsibility that all of us have got, is to put the egos aside, is to document this stuff, pull it together, and make it a consumable piece for other media organizations to pick up, or for people to see in plain English and without the spin that what's actually going on. Because I think, I'm putting my journalist hat on at the moment, but I think a lot of people don't actually realize the gravity of what we're talking about. And in cases like John D'Souza, the lack of gravity, because he doesn't understand basic physics. But sorry, just had to slide that one in there.
That's what she said.
I can't concentrate now.
No, you're totally right though, because I've heard of plenty of people getting cease and desist letters, plenty of people from Corey Good, and it's very abstract until it happens to you. It's kind of like, when your friend's parent dies, you feel bad for them, but it does. And when your parent dies, though, you realize how fucking huge it is.
For sure.
This is the same, not nearly the same, but you know what I mean. It's the same kind of abstract thing where it's like, until it actually happens to you. And I've had people tell me like, wow, he sent you a cease and desist, I'm jealous. And I'm like, don't be, because it's just fucking stressful now, because I hate feeling like I have to walk on eggshells, and I'm at already, just with this one, well, actually, the bitch sent me 2 emails telling me how serious this was. Actually, the second email she sent me was to tell me, this is serious. And how serious it was, and just more threats about how I'm basically forcing them to pursue this, and how she, quote, will bear down on me with the full weight of the law behind her. She's not speaking like a attorney and professionally. She's actually speaking very, like, she's got a dog in this fight, like, besides it just being her, it just seemed like she's taking this really personally, like, really fucking personally. Like, she's probably a friend or something. She has to be. She was saying how fucking serious this is and stuff like that. And it's like, bitch, I know. Unlike David Wilcock, who just has to worry about himself. And he doesn't have to worry about his wife, because, she's got all those black belts. She can kick anybody's ass. I'm sure she's such a hard ass and stuff like that. I have children. I've doxed myself on the fucking internet and said, just to prove my point, I am exactly who I said I am. I'm a real fucking person. I'm a mother, and I am a wife. I have 2 fucking kids over here that I have to think about. Like, I'm taking this seriously. But the thing is, though, there's nothing to take seriously, because it's bullshit. He ain't got a fucking leg to stand on. If he can successfully sue me for providing public information I found with a fucking Google search, then that means every other fucking news outlet, E! News, HLN, Nancy fucking Grace, Chris Cuomo, Edge of Wonder, could be sued for providing information that is publicly available.
Well, yeah, of course, and it's obviously struck a nerve, which I think is the more important point that I want anyone who is listening to this understand, that, obviously it is a stress, and that's the other point as well, Stena, is that, there's nothing to be jealous of here. Like, goddamn, like, nobody wants to have any sort of threat of legal action, especially like, when you've got your family to consider. And I'm a little bit like you, my information's out there. Everyone knows who I am, what I've done. I don't hide any of that. I've got a very long history on the internet and in my media profession as well. Listen, I guess the thing is, it's more important to actually stand up. And that's the thing that I've discovered with this community. I didn't ask to sort of, go into this. It was one of those things that found me. And the more I delved into it, the more my journalism brain switched on to say, actually, what the hell is going on here? And what are the answers? And I saw that with so many other people before, watching their videos and delving into my documentary series. It has been such a good thing to try and uncover and provide a wider context, which is why, you know, the channel's named as it is. But also to provide that sort of exposure is this stuff is actually going on, and it's amazing. It's amazing that these people have this influence over other people, and it's clearly for their financial gain. It's clearly for their subscribes and their, you know, support of what they're doing. And you see that like with someone like Corey Good, who's my, you know, absolute favorite example of this, which is, you know, like he's got his social media manager now, Stina, and he's got all these other people and Roger behind the scenes and working on documentaries and, you know, big Hollywood stuff and all that kind of talk. Well, that's a problem. That's a problem that someone's been enabled to do that. And I don't wish to deplatform anyone. All I wish to do is shine a light on it and go, everyone, this is what the actual facts are. Because it's too easy for someone to get whisked away with the thought that, you know, this is actually factual.
Nobody has time to like sit there and verify each and every one of these people's claims. And especially with David Wilcock, he has this bit of truth and fact that he takes from and then twists it. So it's not fair that, I mean, come on, let's be real here. Most people are fucking dumb. It's the truth. Most people are not that educated, especially here in America. We don't have the best school systems. We don't have the best parent-teacher communication. We don't have the best parent-child communication. Most people are busting their ass, working every day, come home, making dinner, doing laundry, putting the kid to bed, and they're lucky if they get a little bit of time on the internet. So they should not be taken advantage of because they are just living their life and trying to survive in this world and can't fact check all this stuff. They shouldn't be labeled sheeple because they don't have the time because they're trying to put a roof over their children's head. They shouldn't be labeled all these negative things because they just accept the mainstream narrative because that's all they have access to. That's all that, you know, they have on their direct TV. And eventually they will wake up and everybody has it at their own pace. But that doesn't mean that we should allow people to sit there and take advantage of their either lack of education, their naivety, or their lack of time to look into the alternative views.
Absolutely. And it's got nothing to say about anyone else's IQ or anything like that. You know, I think America is very relatable to Australia, where I am, obviously, and the cultural, you know, similarities between the two countries. And it's not a slight on the people at all. It is exactly as you pointed out. It is based around the fact that who's got time to sit on, you know, YouTube and educate themselves on all sorts of world affairs. And, you know, I use the example of, again, like I recently criticised ex-FBI agent John DeSouza, who paints himself as some sort of real-life Fox Mulder from the X-Files. You know, talking about how the moon faces the Earth, and what he failed to actually grasp was the fact that the moon is tidally locked to the Earth and it rotates with the same face for a reason, is because, you know, the Earth and the moon are tangled in a, you know, gravitical kind of like dance as they circle around each other. And,
it's basic science that, you know, our girls are learning in school. You know?
Yeah, for sure. But look, I wouldn't, if someone didn't know that, I wouldn't sort of try to sort of play the, oh, you know, you're dumb because you didn't know that kind of thing. But the bigger point, the absolute bigger point, because you summed it up quite well when you talked about Wilcock, where he blends a little bit of the truth, a little bit of factual into the bit of the bullshit, is that that's a really risky area when you've got someone who does say some factual things. And then, you know, in the Cosmic Secret, they're putting up those photos of those in Iran, I think it was, the 7-foot dummies of the giants, which have been thoroughly debunked as complete bullshit.
Those things are so fucking creepy looking.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? I mean, and that's but that's what they're playing to, Stina. They're going, they are saying, let's put these in the documentary because they're such a, like they'll get people to switch over into our mode of thinking. Whereas any sort of critical thought, and nobody's got time for that. That's the problem. Like, if you're going to half agree with the cosmic secret before you see it, how are you ever going to invest the next, 20 minutes after watching it to go through and look up and try to, not even try to debunk it, but just actually research some of that stuff? And I think if anyone did that to the entire documentary, and I've seen some good reviews of people, I think Zen did a really good example of, sort of pulling that stuff apart. But the problem is that no regular viewer of that documentary is ever going to see that. They're only going to see what they see there, and they're going to know that some facts were involved there, and that's what they're going to run with.
Right, and, that's one thing I did notice a lot with The Cosmic Secret is there were reviews on that goddamn movie before it even came out talking about how it's so good, or they know it's going to be good because it's coming from XYZ person and shit like that. And that's one thing where I've got to be like, And the people that listen to the mainstream media are the ones that sheeple. You're doing the same fucking thing, just with the alternative community. You're a mirror image. You're a fucking mirror image. Like, Jordan Sather posted something the other day on Twitter about, you're awake when you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. A fucking list, a cookie cutter list of what you have to be considered awake in his opinion. When you hit all those fucking marks, then you can say you're awake, and you'll be just like the next person who is awake. You guys will be identical and following the same fucking narrative. It is a mirror image. How do they not see that by all believing the same narrative, they're the same fucking thing as your Joe Schmo fucking beer can who's watching CNN?
There's so many great examples with people like that. And Jordan is probably one of the best, because I think Jordan's a great actor. And I mean that in as far as when he presents his information, he does it in this very sort of, obviously he's appealing to a new generation of people that believe in this kind of stuff. But he does it in such a way that it's so overconfident that I think so many people just follow, and there are sort of people, personality types that when they believe they're being talked to by an authority figure, they sort of do, almost sort of bow to that a little bit, listen to it, and take more note of it. And Jordan does that quite well.
Yes.
It's almost like a little bit of a psychological trick. Look, it's a gut feeling, and of course I could be wrong, so I should state that. But in my heart of hearts, I know that Jordan Sather believes what he's telling is bullshit, but he's doing it because that's what he's doing. And I believe that about Corey Good as well. I believe that he, in his heart of hearts, knows that what he's doing is an op. It is fake, but he is playing a character to do that.
Absolutely, and that's why they're trying to transition to this entertainment shit, because again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying before, and I don't care how fucking mean this makes me sound. I'm not a mean person. I have a good heart, and I know that, but I just say that because somebody has said that to me before, this one person. Anyway, to what I was saying though, it goes back to these people are probably social outcasts in real life. Just look at Corey Good's track record with the fact that he can't hold a job for more than a couple of weeks. One job that he had for a couple of fucking weeks ended so goddamn badly that he got a restraining order. He only worked there for 6 fucking weeks, and then he aired a bunch of bullshit on YouTube trying to slander this company that he worked for. Most people that worked for a job for 6 weeks and got fired probably would be like, you know what, I need to get another job because I'm head of household and I need to support my kids. I don't got time to be sitting on the fucking internet talking shit, trying to get revenge on this fucking company that it didn't work out to the point where I got a fucking restraining order put on me. There's people in this world that you can always tell they're the fucking problem, because every single relationship that they have, whether it's a friendship, a partner, or an employer, there's always some kind of fucking drama or falling out where they're the victim, they were abused. It's never just an amicable separation. It's always that they were abused and they were a victim, and you need to hate those other people because they are the epitome of evil. It's not they're a little evil. They are the worst type of fucking evil and would do the worst thing to you. And Corey Good is a prime example of that.
Sistina, we've reached the end of another great podcast. It's been so good to actually sort of reconnect. I know it's been so busy for yourself as well over the last couple of weeks. And in the US, we've had Thanksgiving and, you know, getting into the Christmas period now. So a lot of people are trying to start to wind down. It's good to sort of, yeah, it's almost like, I'm not an American, obviously, but it's good to be thankful for a lot of the work that we've done and the friends and the sort of relationships that we've created as well.
I have had just so many people that I never thought would ever talk to me, you know, people that I would never think would have even knew I existed have reached out to me and was like, yo girl, we got your back, you know, like it's really like humbling, and it makes me feel like so appreciated for what I'm doing and taking this leap and trying to just present what I'm finding, my therapy, my own deprogramming, you could say. And I really appreciate that. Just so many people just being so kind to me and actually caring that this is happening. And the thing is, what we don't know is I could be the first of many, because a lot of people have told me this is a first for David Wilcock specifically. Corey Good, these are dime a dozen. This is like, you know, a Sunday for him. But for David Wilcock, this is unusual. From what I've been told, people have said that they've never heard of him sending cease and desist before. So if he will do it to a lady that's got very few subscribers and only a couple of videos under her belt, I'm just saying keep an eye on your email, because God knows who's going to be next.
That's the thing that I'm starting to see, and I think I made a tweet another time about the tide starting to turn on a lot of this stuff, is because people are actually coming together, and it's not the whole manufactured, you know, let's come together moment. It's actually people realizing and, you know, like, gee, I had to use their terms, but like waking up to the fact that there's something going on here. There's an agenda that's beyond, it's beyond what, you know, the surface level. So it's so good. And, you know, like, I think that's probably what we need to do more. We need to raise our voices. And I think what you've done, Stina, and what I'd love to do as well is just encourage more people to make more content, to keep sort of shining a light on this. And I think that's the way that, you know, the community can move forward in a positive way, to be more factually based, to be more, you know, responsible, I guess, as well, because what's the responsibility of people that are putting out that Cosmic Secret documentary? There's none. There's no there's no rigor behind it. It's all like, you know, we're just giving you this information. And as I said before, that last 20 minutes is a little bit like it's a little bit like what Wilcock was doing in 1999, talking about the year 2000 and that we're all going to be flying around in our light bodies and being ascended beings. And 2012, you know, hey, the world's going to end, but, you know, meantime, we're going to be flying and spirits and all that sort of shit. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing that narrative repackaged, relabeled, and put into a place where it's accepted. And I think it's up to everyone who creates content like this. Let's put our egos aside. I don't care who came up with what term first. I don't care who has been covering this stuff for longer. and is jealous of other people, which tends to happen. I'm sorry, it's just egos get in the way. But what's more important, I don't care if anyone just picks up and copies my content 100% and reposts it. What's more important is actually reaching the person that might be on the verge of consuming this stuff and believing it and investing their hard-earned money into fueling these people. The more important thing surely is that everyone gets to see what the real deal is.
If people need to share my stuff, like I guess I can kind of say like CW Chanter says, like, you know, repost my content if you feel like it'll get views on a larger platform. Like, absolutely, as long as it helps people. And I've got to say, just a couple, I'm trying to stay off Twitter because it's kind of a fucking cesspool. And there was this one girl that wrote to me privately, and she admitted to me that one of her online quote friends that she met had been trying to basically convert her to this cult of Corey Goode and David Wilcock, and that she was nice. Basically, she was too nice and just kept like smiling and nodding sort of thing. But she had explained to this person that, you know, I don't really have a good gut feeling about these people. And the person kept on, and somebody shared my content with this person. And she wrote me and started subscribing. The person that was stalking her and trying to convert her then went to Corey Goode and labeled me as, tagged me saying I was slandering him and all this other crazy shit, which I wasn't. But it shows you how, even though I'm trying to stay off of Twitter, just taking a couple of minutes or somebody sharing my content just in that one tweet then made this snowball effect of a girl writing me and thanking me and subscribing to me, and now seeing, she had no idea. She was like, is this really a cult? And I said, girl, trust me. When I first heard somebody call this a cult, I rolled my eyes and I was like, no, that's kind of dramatic. But yeah, girl, it totally is. It totally is. So just taking that like extra little second to do that and sharing content really helps.
Wow, it's a very important point, and I've had a couple of comments to the same as well. Like, you know, what harm does this sort of stuff do? Well, by itself, by one person, you know, sort of talking about their experiences, and if they believe them, well, no, not of course. Like, you know, that could be quite a genuine-hearted person who's had an experience that they can't explain, and they are relaying that to you. And I don't want to ever come across, and I probably do, and probably a lot of people think that I don't believe certain, you know, things can ever happen. That's not the case at all. What is the bigger picture is when you look at how people exploit those ideas and the experiences of others across a timeline. So, you know, you can take someone like Corey Goode, put his whole timeline out there from Project Avalon till current day. And if you're exposed to that as a person and you look into that and you see the changes, you see the you know, the stories and the aggressiveness over that timeline, I'm just using that as one example, you start to get a bit of bigger picture. And I think that's, Stina, that's what I'm actually going to brand this podcast as. I think what we're talking about is the bigger picture. The bigger picture that definitely talks about what is happening when these types of people get pulled together and their messages get broadcasted on an enormous platform, whether it's, you know, through movies and releases or interviews on, you know, serious kind of radio broadcasters. This is what tends to happen. And I think that's the biggest concern that everyone's got is like, if this escalates, where is it going to end up? Because we deal with a post-truth media where, you know, anyone can really broadcast their message, and that's a great thing. I would never want that to stop. But what it actually opens it up to as well that we need to, and that's why we need to be critical. We need to be able to preserve our right to be critical, and it's not slander at all. It's actually just calling people out on their bullshit.
Right. Or just presenting an alternative view with facts. As long as it's factually based, what's wrong with that?
And public information, I should add.
Right. And it's also not religious persecution, because I'd have to know what religion I am persecuting before I can persecute it, because I have no idea.
Very true. Very true. Well, Stina, I think it's been another wonderful chat. We've gone on for a little while now, and maybe it's time to wrap it up. But I tell you what, gee, it's been great to chat to you again. It's been a bit of a heavy subject this time, and I think it's quite reflective of, you know, the events of the last few weeks, to be honest. But I think, you know, next time we have a chat, we'll try and make it light. And I think I say that every podcast, by the way, but I think we'll try to make it a little bit lighter and have a bit of fun. We've just got some functionality on the podcast now where you can leave us messages, like voice messages as well. And Stina had a good idea as well about creating a Twitter account for the podcast. So it'd be great to get a little bit more interactive, a little bit more fun, and talk to a whole lot more people in the community. And they don't have to be big names. Remember, this is not the high IQ hour of talking to the big brains of the ufology community. It is definitely talking to the people who are interested and who are part of the community, not just guys and girls that get up on stage and sort of, you know, talk their talk on this stuff.
Like my brain is still mush, like trying to wrap my head that this actually happened, because I just, why me? But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop. And I appreciate everybody's help and everybody like reaching out and being like, you know, keep it up, Stina. I think that this will hopefully encourage more people to speak out, not make them not want to speak out more, because, whoa, if Stina can get a cease and desist with only a couple hundred subscribers, then he really will go after everyone. But I don't think that that's what we should take from this. I think that it just shows the content that I'm providing struck a nerve for some reason, and you know, more eyes are better than my four-eyed ass. Like, if more of us could just, you know, look, and there's plenty of stuff that I've probably overlooked that others can find, and then present that truth, you know. He can't shut all of us up. He cannot manipulate all of us. He cannot intimidate all of us. He can try, but, you know, like I said, if they're successful in suing any of us or taking any of us to court, then that means every other journalist and YouTuber or news outlet would then have to be taken to court. So it's just dumb that he actually, I think it was just intimidation, because he's stupid to think that he has any fucking leg to stand on. But thank you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I've seemed a bit distracted the last couple of weeks. There's just been a lot going on. Besides this was like nothing in comparison. Just been a little stressed at home. But thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Daniel, for having me on again.
No, thanks, Sarah. It's been great talking to you again. And, you know, like, everyone wishes you the best of luck, I think, in the community. And I think, you know, you're the best example at the moment of someone who is speaking up and adding their voice to this conversation. And you've obviously got the attention of people who, you know, don't want you obviously to be talking. And I think it's a really super point. It's a really good point about, you know, and I want to actually ask that question. Anyone listening now who is a casual listener to this kind of content, who is a casual follower of this content and has similar opinions or believes that, you know, there really needs to be some sort of standing up to this, is find the courage to have your voice, okay? Because the more people that can add their voice to this, and it's certainly not saying that we should try and intimidate or threaten anyone. It's not what I'm saying. I just am actually saying that so that, you know, nobody can turn around and sort of say that against us. It's completely not what we're saying. It's no sort of ganging up on anyone. It is, if you think this is important, to raise your voice and to add to the stuff, the kind of work that I think, you know, most of us are trying to do to add some sense of sanity to this situation, please do, because everyone that stands up, and as I said before, it's not about ego for me, so I don't care, you know, any information that you take from me, whatever like that, just do it, because the more people, the better.
Exactly. And we're not going to, you know, copyright strike you or anything like that if you want to share our content for the greater good.
Oh, that's so good, Stina. Well, I will let you go. You've had a big couple of weeks, and yeah, so glad to have you back on the podcast. And guys, we will try to do another podcast episode soon, and we will make it a little bit lighter and brighter and fun as well.
That we will. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks, Stina. Have a good one. I don't know how to end the podcast. I really need to come up with an ending line, don't I? Like, you know, God, I don't know.
Govern yourself accordingly.
Well, there you go. Everyone, govern yourself accordingly. Have a wonderful day, and we're out.